So we're going to go ahead and talk about the third source of getting really in the right state of mind and the state of body energy, mental energy as well. And I'm going to tell you a story about my daughter who is a college graduate. A lot of the time she'll come to me and she'll say, I'm going to go talk to this person, I have an interview, I feel so anxious. And I usually tell her, Mona, you're putting yourself in the equation too much. What I want you to focus on is the conversation you're going to have with that person. I want you to focus more about what kind of experience you're going to have, getting to know that person, getting to know about the company, and as much as you can, focus on them. And that's really what we're trying to say here, because when we do that, we then start thinking, what is it that I'm going to do to make sure when they walk away from that meeting, they understood what I was actually talking about. So I may actually think, you know what, it's actually going to be helpful if I send something before, maybe like a one-pager, and then I'm going to say something like, you know, check out this one-pager. You may or may not have enough time to look at it before we meet, but I'd love, if you can, just spend a few minutes looking at it, because when I love it, I would love it when we get together that we can actually have a conversation about some of the ideas that we would be talking about. And that's really why this whole idea of engagement with the audience and really thinking about the gift you're going to give them. And the question is, what sort of gift do we have for them? What is that gift? And we have a quotation here that I think really helps me summarize what we want to talk about. And I was listening to this TED Talk a few days ago, actually, literally. And Rosabeth Moskanter, she's a Harvard University professor in the business school. She basically said that the most important thing that you can do as a communicator is to really use your voice to shape the agenda, to frame issues for other people, help them understand what's the context, why this matters, and help them think about it in a different way, hopefully. So you can give them, you know, you give them an insight, and then you hear them saying something like, oh my God, I actually never looked at it that way. Can you imagine you doing that? Helping somebody see things in a different way? And sometimes you also give them the vocabulary to talk about the problem. Sometimes people are so much in need of trying to think about, how do I even talk about it? They don't know what words to use. You come in the room and you think about it and you thought about it and you came in the room with a way to describe it. And you also give them an idea for what we can actually do as a result of what we talked about. So, and as you've seen me when I had the slide that had the book covers, the meaning book, I wrote it specifically because I saw at Cisco how John Chambers and the rest of the management team really understood that their main responsibility in the company was to really create meaning out of so much stuff that looks like chaos. Mm-hmm. What's going on outside Cisco? What's happening inside Cisco? What is it going to mean to every employee? So they constantly and repetitively focused on communicating where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going. And the same thing can happen with the marketing numbers. We can talk about where we've been last week, where we are today, where we're going, and what are we doing to actually steer where we're going. So we're not basically, leaving it to the chances, but we're doing everything we can to increase engagement, to look at the marketing tactics, the things that we can tweak and play with, so that hopefully we can impact the results. That's essentially what needs to happen here, is that we're constantly thinking about the before, the during, and then after, again, as a way to structure the conversation. Because like in Miles' situation, a lot of the time he actually gets into the conversation and then it switches on him. And he needs to use some kind of structure so that he's constantly able to adapt to the conversation, even if they change it on him. Mm-hmm. Okay? So this will be interesting now that we're eating, and I've got now an activity here for us. And it's really more about expectations. This activity is really more about expectations. When someone presents to you, typically you're going to have your own expectations of them, as we were looking at some of the things that you like about presenters and some of the things that you don't like. So the first question is, when someone presents to you, what do you expect from them? How do you want them to organize what they present to you? How do they earn the right for being able to come actually back and talk with you? So that's the kind of discussion. I'd love to make use of the time we're having with the lunch. Just talk with each other about what your expectations are going to be, how you actually make these expectations transparent to that person, and then think about the whole idea, how much do you actually hold yourself to the same standard or not. So that's a good opportunity to enjoy the food as well as hopefully have a discussion around these points in your groups. We're going to do this in about 10 minutes or so. So I'll let you guys do that.